Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, December 16th, 2019 Bladen County Commissioners meeting. We welcome each and every one of you this evening for our last meeting of the year. And at this time, we'd like to ask Reverend Warren Hill, Bethel Baptist Church minister. And we thank you, sir, for coming to lead us in prayer this evening. And following that, Mr. Martin, if you'll lead us in our pledge.
Let's pray, please. Father, we thank you so much for this beautiful day you give us today. And I thank you for all those that are gathered here tonight. I pray for each one of them, especially our commissioners tonight, Lord. I pray that you'll guide them and direct them in the business that's at hand, and that you'll give them strength, knowledge, and wisdom as they do the job that they have to carry out. I pray that you would be with those that will make presentations tonight, Lord, and reports, and just ask you to be with them. And pray for safety as everyone heads home after the meeting. And we thank you so much for all you do for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody's listening. Consent items. Can we get a motion to approve? Got a motion from Mr. Dallas, a second from Mr. Gooden. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All the commissioners step down front. Special recognition, Mr. Charles Peters.
Y'all should have dressed for the occasion.
And grateful appreciation to Charles Ray Peterson for dedicated service to the people of Bladen County as chairman of the Bladen County Board of Commissioners. Presented the Bladen County Board of Commissioners present this 16th day of December 2019, December 2018 through December 2019. So we thank you for all of your service.
Thank you.
We thank you for all that you've done and the good work that you've done with the opioids and all the work that you're still doing helping in the Kelly Dyke situation. You've made a lot of progress, and there's a lot of good things we know in the works on that, and we're just so grateful for those things and a lot of other things you've done, and we appreciate you so very much.
Yeah, I can't do nothing about this Board of Commissioners, so I thank y'all. And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Individual delegations wish to address the commissioners. Madam Clerk. Matter of interest to the commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, is there a 4A?
Yeah, we got a 4A with Birdside, renewable energy representative by Brian Bender. Come forth at this time.
Thank you. Is it okay if I just stand?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for having me here, members of the commission. My name is Brian Bedner. I'm the founder and owner of Birdside Renewable Energy. We're based in Charlotte, North Carolina, and have been in business since 2009 doing solar development. We've, to date, developed 43 projects across the state of North Carolina, throughout the southeastern part of the state. And I'm here just for a moment. I appreciate the opportunity Mr. Martin gave me, helped introduce me to y'all, to tell you a bit about a situation that I think would be of interest to the county. We've had similar conversations with Scotland County and Richmond County. We are developing a project, so again, run through these real quick. So we are a solar developer doing large-scale solar around the state, as I mentioned. As you guys are aware, this area of the state has been home to a lot of solar development. the state of North Carolina is now number 2 in the country after California for solar. It came to our attention starting in the middle of 2017 based upon a project that is now the #1 project in all of Duke Energy progress. So basically the eastern part of the state of North Carolina for the most part, anything Duke. We have the #1 project that's in line to connect, and it's on the 401 south of Laurinburg, heading to McCall, South Carolina, a 75 megawatt, 450 acre project known as Frisian. And what we learned from Duke back in 2017 was that the region of southeastern North Carolina, where a lot of the solar that's been built in this state, had reached its capacity on all of its transmission lines, so that it was basically impossible to connect another solar project in this area. This map that you see here is what has been published by Duke recently as part of they're going through a process now to procure solar for, and they call it CPRE, Competitive Procurement of Renewable Energy. They've done 1 round, they're doing a 2nd round. They're set up with this, we're doing 600 megawatts per year, but they are basically taking all of it but 80 megawatts from Duke Energy Carolinas, the western part of the state. And one of the reasons they're doing that is because they published this map, which basically says that this region of the state has completely reached its capacity. If you don't mind advancing the slide. Well, there we go. Yeah. So this is a little bit more detail. This shows, it also takes care of the PD area as well. And what has happened is that because of the success here, the traditional energy system was designed to be Sharon Harris, gas plants, coal plants, that then took their power to Wake County and the Triangle, Charlotte, etc. And over time, because this is the most productive location, southeastern part of our state, to generate solar energy, obviously, and there was available land, and there was an interest by all of the counties that are in this area to have solar investment, that we have now reached the point where those power lines are at capacity. This map basically shows you projects that are currently listed as projects in this region that are waiting to connect but have been unable to. If you don't mind advancing this one, thank you. The red dot is the project that I'm working on. I also have a project here in the county called Slender Branch that we have taken control of near the Columbus County land line on this Darden family's farm. That is again behind the project known as Frisian. The way that the system works currently is everything's first come, first served. And so as a result, nothing else can be built unless the one ahead of it gets built. And so Frisian is the one that when Duke said this area is constrained, we worked out an arrangement where we're selling the power from Frisian, the plan is to sell the power to Frisian, from Frisian to North Carolina Electric Membership Corporation under a long-term contract. We have arranged private financing to fund $225 million of system upgrades that you see on this map. So the lines that you see that are in green, 63 miles, crossing the Cape Fear River 4 times, no new right-of-way. So those lines already exist, but basically we're paying Duke using private funds to upgrade those lines. The key is, though, once they're operational in the future, Duke, like any other investment they make, has to pay us back, and then they put it into their rate base. We've reached a point now where this has never been used to, in solar development, to fund these kinds of upgrades. And so we are at a point now where we're asking for our certificate of public convenience and necessity. It's a process in front of the Utilities Commission where we have the ability to build the project. And the public staff has raised some concerns that $225 million of upgrades in this region haven't gone through a orderly study process. We are triggering those upgrades. We found a way to fund them. They're saying that this should be done through a long-range planning process, of which there isn't one, that would address this. Our project is such that the $225 million will take until the end of 2023 to be completed. We've already funded $10 million of the design and studies and environmental for this project, and we are going before the Utilities Commission on Wednesday to ask for our certificate of public convenience and necessity. Duke is in full support of the project. I think I shared with y'all the Duke's letter. And what I'm here today is ask if the county, Bladen County, would be willing to write a letter of support to say that solar investment's important in this region, and that the issuance of the certificate of public convenience and necessity for Frisian would be something that would be in the best interest of this county. I'm going to share a little bit more about why I think it is in y'all's best interest. If you don't mind, just advance the slide. We've learned now that the governor, the Duke has put forward a plan to reduce the carbon in their fleet that by 2030 will require an additional 3,000 megawatts of solar across the state. Just to give some context, North Carolina's number 2 in the country. We're just shy of 4,000 megawatts. So we're basically, by 2030, Duke has said publicly that they want to double the amount of solar investment in North Carolina. Additional to that, the governor has come forward with an executive order 80, and the executive branch has said that they want to make North Carolina reduce utility carbon footprint by 70% by 2030, based on 2005, so 2005 numbers. What that means is an additional 2,100 megawatts. So basically another 5,100 megawatts of investment are coming to the state of North Carolina by 2030. And as it stands right now, we're the only way that any of these upgrades are going to be built that potentially could bring any of this to the 15 counties that I showed you on that map that are in the southeastern part of the state, because this area has already received that investment. I have an interest. I want to see my project get built. I would love to build the one on Columbus County line here in the county, but in the end, if we don't go forward, Duke has come out and said that the earliest these upgrades could even be completed would be 2027 at the best case. Because the process, we've been working on this for 2.5 years already. We still have another 4 years to build them. So it's a 6-7 year process. So if we go away, then it starts all over with somebody else, and there right now is nobody else and no process. If you don't mind this slide. Just to give a sense, our Slender Bench project is 2 projects behind the Frisian project. The same $225 million is needed by about 1,500 megawatts of solar in the 15 county region of southeastern North Carolina. If we were to withdraw or not go forward, then basically that nobody else can go forward. That slides down to the next project. It slides down to the next project, etc. It's a cascade that there really is no other mechanism at this point in time for there to be a way to fund it. Because we're selling power to North Carolina Electric Membership Corporation, we have a unique ability to bring private capital, which we are, fund the $225 million, and at some point in the future, Duke can reimburse us and will reimburse us, and then it would go to be rate-based along with all of their other investments. It wouldn't be fair for me. One thing I should highlight is that it is in the public record that 2 things. One, the public staff's mission, because they've never faced anything like this before, is to focus on costs. It's a good thing. It's an important role that they play as the public staff of the commission. They have no mechanism to look at benefits. So they don't look at economic development of the southeast part of the state, they don't look at job creation, they don't look at any of those things, because they've never had a situation like this where they're used to looking at a nuclear plant or a gas plant or a coal plant in isolation, maybe 1 at a time, maybe 2 at a time, not dealing with what we deal with solar that's unique. The second thing is they said if they're looking at just cost, there's a potential for it to have an impact on ratepayers in the future. The earliest it would be reimbursed would be 2027, and so they said it could be as much as a 0.5% increase but that takes no account of property tax, investment, all of the other benefits that come along with the lowering of rates. We're putting forward testimony that actually solar is lower cost going forward than gas and other fossil fuels. Our costs have come down dramatically. So what I'm asking for you today is, if it's possible, the 15 counties that were shown in that original map, do you mind running it back? I'm sure it's driving them. Oh, sorry, go that one. I got skipped. The one before that, please. That one. The dotted line basically shows, you see the dotted line, that shows the area that is considered off limits now for any further solar investment. The color codes are where solar investment has happened thus far in the state of North Carolina. Our argument to the public staff is, if you're going to put 150% of what's already in the ground of additional solar, building it in the western half of the state for obvious reasons with topography, population, all that, We put the cross-hatching in there to show you the metropolitan statistical areas, the MSAs of both Charlotte, Fayetteville, and the Triangle. And the best solar resources in the southeastern part of the state, available land, opportunities for investment, jobs. We already trained a lot of folks in this region to do solar, and there's no solar to be done any longer. So I kindly ask that if the commission sees fit, we would love to see an opportunity for where a letter could go to the commission just expressing the importance of this investment. I understand in certain cases, development of solar has been done, is controversial, it's not properly cited. My view is the local jurisdiction, whether it be the county or the cities, still have the ability to control their zoning and mandate what that siting looks like, what buffers are, how close you put it to neighbors, all those things that you can do now. But if we don't make this investment, then you're not going to have the opportunity to accept it because it won't be able to be built. The last thing I'll leave you with is that we found this out, and I was just curious, because of the delay, we've had, this project that I'm working on now has been underway since 2016, early 2016, and we've now migrated to the top of the line. Scotland County has had over 200 megawatts, so their queue, people in line behind us, has gone to 0. Because you can't keep these projects on indefinitely. People sign contracts, landowners want to wait. Richmond County has gone to 0. And from my understanding, from most recent look, there are no more, other than our project Slender Branch, 2 behind region. At present, there aren't any other projects that are of scale in the county in the queue. And I think that that has a lot to do with the fact that there's no path for there to be connections. We have a means with our private financing to fund the $225 million, build it over the next 3 years with Duke's support, and open up capacity in this region. So with that, I'll happily answer any questions you might have. Sure.
I'd like to elaborate on one thing.
Yeah.
You might enlighten us on something. You know how you get these brochures in the mail at your residence or your business, in my case, my business, and it's like it's too real to be true, you know. Number one, we're the 6th fastest growing state in the nation, so we obviously have a need for more power. I got something in the mail about 5 years ago in reference to an offer from Duke to change all my lighting, balance, and everything in my store, about a $10,000 or $12,000 deal for like $2,000, and would debit my account $50 a month for the couple of years to get the money back through the $90 savings that I would save every month. And I'm like, why would you do this? Because I wanted to know, you know, this just doesn't sound right. And the answer was, for the need of power, that's better to help me conserve power, because they said feasibility and what it will cost if they had to build more nuclear power plants to supply power for the need for the people. It's more incentive for them to help me save power so they can give it, say, to Charles. And I'm sure there's tax angles for them as well. But it made sense after they explained it, why they're in the need for the power and you doing the paying.
Well, it is a unique situation where putting new power plants in the ground, I think there is a general mindset that you need water to do power plants. You still need a lot of these same upgrades, doesn't matter if it's solar or not. If there was a chance that Bladen County could get a gas plant if the new pipeline comes through or such, still going to rely on these same power lines that need to get done.
Well, and the cost of our power, if they had to do it.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, sir.
I hear you saying developing of new solar farms, solar energy. With the co-ops, I have approached the co-ops with the organization, and I'm trying to figure out how will you bring co-ops online. It's like Bladen County is controlled by co-ops with a lot of the population, and the co-ops are not in agreement because they say it's not feasible because Duke won't let them put that line power and surge into their lines during high maximum time. They won't allow it. And when you talk with the guys like with Polk County and Burnout, they say it's not feasible for them to do solar farms in their jurisdiction just because of that, unless you can store the energy in cells that you can release at peak times. And then they say if you release them at peak times, then Duke is going to raise the rates because it's affecting their power plants. So
This is exactly the same issue. So
how do you bring all these guys online?
Well, so we're selling so we would sell to the wholesale organization in Raleigh that sells then down to the different, so 4 County would buy from NCEMC, they call it. However, the issue is that there's still a first come, first served. The same thing, I have not talked to four counties lately about, about trying to do a project, but for example, Lumbee River, we've done some work with in Ross. They have, at this point, are unable to connect new projects because it may backfeed into Duke's system, and Duke's system is the backbone for this region. And so as a result, these upgrades, I can't speak, it's very difficult to say this project will benefit, this project won't, but we've been told by Duke that 1,500 additional megawatts in this region will benefit directly from these upgrades.
With the logistics of where they're located be significant because
Absolutely.
that's what they're saying. So like people in Fort County.
Right, so right now, like municipalities, like, again, I've done a lot of work in Scotland, that's where we focus with this region. City of Laurinburg has its own municipal utility. They have a large auto parts manufacturer called FCC that makes clutch lines. They want to do solar. Right now, there is no mechanism because Laurinburg then backfeeds into Duke and everything's all backed up, so you can't really connect. The view that I have is that if we don't start this now, then we just wait and we start it over, and then 7 years from now, when it gets done. Yes, sir.
So, did you say that within the dotted lines, there's no space for solar?
That's right.
Well, Bladen County's in that dotted line, aren't they?
Well, they're not in the.
They are.
Yeah, they are. That's what I'm saying. That's right. So you guys do not have the ability to connect new stuff. So our project, Slender Branch, which is on that one other map, it's on the Columbus County line. It is number 3 in line within this whole region of Duke Energy projects.
I thought you just told me there was no space for any more solar.
There isn't. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to, not land.
Help me understand.
Okay, I'm sorry, maybe that wasn't clear. So there's no more capacity on the transmission lines, is what I should have said.
Oh,
Be more clear. I'm sorry, I didn't make that very clear. There's no more capacity on the power lines to put more solar.
How you gonna do Splendor?
We can't unless Friesian goes forward. So it's all dependent on
That's putting in another what's it called?
transmission line.
Yeah.
No, we're rebuilding an existing transmission line.
You're rebuilding it.
2 of them actually, and they're on that map right there. It's the blue segment, the red segment, the green segment, the red segment. Yes, sir.
So, who are your competitors? I mean, are you trying to get the whole enterprise, or do you have competitors?
Oh, absolutely. So
why should we single you out versus the competitors?
So my argument to you, well, no competitor can proceed without this anyway in Bladen County, or in the 15 counties that were shown on that map. Because it's a first come, first served line, and I happen to have the unique ability with the Project Friesian that's at the front of the line, because it's selling to NCEMC, that we can privately finance this. Everybody else ends up with $225 million on each comes down the line, and a single project cannot bear $225 million without a mechanism to get reimbursed by Duke. And we're one of the few that can actually do that.
Where will you get the additional power from? That's what I'm saying. Where would that energy come from? You have to have a farm or somewhere generated. Where would it
Right,
come
so that farm is on 401 South, just south of Laurinburg. And it's not like there was anything special about Scotland County, it's just that happened to be the next one in line. We've done a lot of work there. And what it does is, if you think about the power transmission system, it's like a spider web. So they all kind of interact. So this 15 county region electrically is all interdependent with one another. So Columbus County, Bladen County, Ralston County, all the way up to Hope, all the way as far west as Richmond County, are all electrically connected to one another. So these upgrades, I'm not saying this is the end of the line, there'll be some additional things that have to keep going, but right now we've gotten to the point where the next project, no matter where it is in the 15 counties, triggers $225 million of upgrades.
So, when's Friesian gonna be done?
So the plan would be if we
You
get,
got approval to do it, right?
no, this is what I have. I've got to get my final approval I need. I have financing, I have a contract to sell, I have an agreement with Duke to connect it, and if, so long as I fund $225 million, we've already funded $10 million of that. But what we need approval from the Utilities Commission to say that it's acceptable for it to be built. And that's really the reason I'm in front of you, because we are trying to generate grassroots support for this. On Wednesday, we go before the commission. We think we have a very strong case as why this should happen. But right now, we have public staff of the commission that's saying we would rather go through a planning process for the 225, figure it out, go through a study process, My concern with that is if we start over, if we get denied and start over, then that planning process starts TBD, and then it will take 6 years from that moment, and it could be easily 2027 and beyond before any other solar gets built in this region.
Okay, so they approve you Wednesday, what happens, how does it affect Bladen County?
So what will
how are we
happen
gonna
is,
benefit from it?
so your benefit is going to be that these $225 million of upgrades will continue, which we've already funded 10 million of it, keep building. Then in 2023, the plan would be that we will turn on Frisian, because it takes 4 years for this 63 miles to get fixed and constructed, and then we will be able to finish up Slender Branch, because it will share all 225, plus actually Slender Branch will be relying on a 4 million of another upgrade in addition, but we can handle that on a given project. But without the 225, really nothing else goes forward.
Okay, so when is Duke gonna start quit asking for increases and it's gonna benefit the citizens of Bladen County?
Well-
They in front of the commission right now are word for a price increase.
Yeah, no, I mean,
So
I
how's
don't,
that gonna affect the average citizen as far as?
that's a very valid question. Well, so here's where we are right now, and so the system is changing, right? So we know that we're gonna get lower carbon. I mean, Duke's committed to it, the states, both at the General Assembly level and at the executive branch, we've gotten support for changing to a more renewable-based generation. We have, up to this point, built that on the back of the existing system that we have, transmission system. There hasn't been any additional investment to speak of to the transmission system. It is going to require some additional investment. I don't know about all of Duke's plans with respect to their rate increases, coal ash, all of those things, but I do know that in order for there to be additional renewable energy investment or gas plant investment, Duke has proposed 2 plants in Cumberland County. They're gonna have to upgrade the southeastern part of the state's transmission system. And my idea is this is a means to do it as quickly as possible.
So what impact would it have on people that's employed at Southport? None?
None. Well, I shouldn't say it with such authority. I can't, but I mean, I can't see why there would be. I don't know for a pure fact that I don't know much about what the impact would be.
Mr. Chairman, how's that impact on Fort County users?
It shouldn't impact them directly at all, other than, there is one thing. So this is really important, 'cause I want to make sure everybody understands how this works. So the 225 million, we have private investors that are ready and have already written 10 million of it, awaiting this approval by the Utilities Commission. At a point in the future, which should be 2027, if we complete the project, then Duke is able to take it alongside all of their other investments and take it to the commission and get it put in the rate base, they call it. So that rate base will be spread around North and South Carolina, et cetera. So there could be a small impact there. Plus, the other thing is that Fort County will get electricity from the Frisian project at an attractive rate that NCEMC feels was attractive for them to sign this contract.
Have they are on board?
I have not talked to Fort County because they buy their power, they get all their power procurement handled by NCEMC.
Right.
And NCEMC has a staff that does power supply for all of their members. So I have not spoken. And partly it's just because we've been dealing with the NCEMC folks that handle buying for Fort County. But inevitably, they are the ones that are in charge of managing to make sure they have the least cost power they can get.
Then I would go back to what Mr. Peterson said, so if they're continuing increasing their rates, so what benefited to the to the clients?
No, so we believe, and we've got testimony in the docket, going forward, solar is going to be the least cost answer. For solar, renewables our costs continue to decline. We're now selling power at or below what they can generate power for. They call it avoided cost. That's how we make our projects work. We sell power. Duke has, over the last 6, 7, 10 years, published what it costs them to produce power. And the only way I could sell power to them, whether it be in Robinson County or any of the other places I've done business with in the state, is I had to be able to sell it for less. That's only accelerated. We've had a bit of a bump and slow down because of tariffs and other things, but going forward, solar costs continue to decline, our production continues to go up. But we're at a point now where the state of North Carolina has said we want to more than double the amount of solar, but the southeastern part of the state has no more capacity in their transmission system. So if there's going to be investment made, I'm not sure how we put more investment in this part of the state.
The question I asked,
Yeah.
now Duke is more or less monopolizing the power energy in this whole.
They do have a sort of regulated monopoly.
Yeah, there's a monopoly. They want to go to the energy board and to the state,
That's right.
and they do rate increases. Would EMC have anything to do with rate increases, or would it still be monopolized by Duke? That's what I'm asking. We did.
Oh, okay, I understand your question now, yeah.
Better position to
So,
monopolize.
so
it.
the co-ops are not regulated by the Utilities Commission in the same fashion as what Duke is. So the thing that's different about the co-ops, they have some shares in different power plants, traditional power plants, nuclear power plants and some of the gas plants. But broadly, they buy most of their power, and then they send it to their members, and then the members set their rates. So I don't know that this directly impacts them, other than we are able to allow them to do more. This gives them more flexibility to say, hey, we have a large manufacturer, we have DuPont that wants to do solar in Bladen County, or we have Smithfield or whatever. Now they don't even have the flexibility to work with them because they don't have any way to connect the product. So I think that's one of the other advantages. But in general, they set their own rate making. But we feel like we're selling, they wanted to sign a long-term contract with us to buy the power from Frisian because they felt it was attractive, the NCEMC. So we would expect that would flow down to Fort County.
So how does what you wanna do affect the solar plants? Say the one at DuPont, does it have any impact on the one at DuPont now when you get complete?
Should not. So the way it works is
So-
you reserve capacity in the line. So anything that's been built to date is sort of grandfathered. Anything new, what Duke does is they run analysis to say, okay, and it's not even like, it's a rare thing. If 5 or 6 bad things happen, cascade of bad events happen, how much capacity is left on this line? And right now they're at basically 100%. So they've reached the full size of the line. Nothing else can get added. So nothing that's already in existence will be affected. But what it will affect is whether or not any additional investment. So of the 5,100 megawatts that Duke says that will need to be built over the next 10 years to meet their goals and the governor's goals, then those have to be sited somewhere. And so we got to figure out where we're going to put them as developers and Duke itself.
So do you have solar farms down in Bladen County? Do you want?
We have our first one we're just finishing up right now. We did this one on the way to Garland, on the right-hand side. And that's the first one I've done I've done work in Sampson County. I did Prestige Foods, had a solar thermal project. I've done a lot in Robinson.
So what you wanna do, does it affect the people that's invested in solar already?
No, sir.
But you said they can't expand it this time.
They would not be able to expand it now, at present. And there are a lot of projects, there have been a lot of projects, there are probably, and we don't have access to the data, there are probably some smaller projects like the one on the way to Garland that are still waiting for this to happen too. So Duke has said, by doing this 225 million, you will immediately open up another 1,500 megawatts. Most of those are probably, I would say a certain portion of them are already legacy projects that are kind of waiting in line. But then any future projects would use that as well.
So you selling the energy on the one going to Garland, you're not selling it to Duke now, you selling it to the.
That one actually is on Duke,
So that's gonna be sold to Duke.
sold to Duke, yes, under a long-term agreement.
So the Frisian, you want a letter of support for us to support the Frisian project.
Yes, and the reason is,
So
go ahead.
does that affect, once you get the Frisian up and running, does that open it up for anybody, or have you got sole proprietor?
Oh, no, I don't have any soul, I do have some
They
projects.
don't monopolize what's gonna happen in Bladen County? just
No,
go-
no, sir, not at all. So I have Slender Branch, but I have no other projects in Bladen County.
So if another developer want to come in and build some property in Fort County. and they want
Absolutely,
to
yes.
put
And I'm not
the
saying
same-
that's the end of the line. Inevitably, you ask the question, are we gonna have to have more work done? There's gonna be work done to change the system, but broadly, what will happen is my 225 million is going to rebuild those lines that are on that map.
Okay.
And
I just have one final
Sure.
question, if I may. So you're just wanting basically the contract to do the transmission station upgrades so that solar farms in the future are able to tap into the transmission station?
yeah, so the
Basically,
system,
it's run out, it needs a larger transmission.
yeah, so
larger
the system,
support.
I would say the lines themselves, you think about the tower,
Uh-huh.
right? We're basically gonna upgrade, using Frisian, which is #1 in line. We're gonna spend $225 million to upgrade 63 miles of tower. We're not building any new transmission lines, we're gonna upgrade 63 miles of lines which will allow more projects to be built in the 15 counties in that Bladen County zone.
So that allow you to expand the growth of your business. if you-
Yeah, I absolutely benefit, so I don't wanna make it sound like this is not, I mean, I'm a businessman, let's make sure, but I don't have any monopoly, or I don't have, I mean, I have some.
This is to support, more solar farms.
That's right. Without it, it's gonna be very difficult for anybody to build another new project in Bladen County.
Okay, I got that.
So for the-
So, if you're gonna go Wednesday, you need a recommendation tonight.
Yeah, and I know the timing's tight, and
Our
the reason,
recommendation just gonna be for the freezing, right?
yes, sir, and I think we provided just a draft letter, so we can also send you what Scotland County did. But we've talked to Richmond County, there's several of the other counties, Robinson, that are interested in it, whether it was kind of a last minute, quick effort to try to get this figured out, but I think we're hopeful that it's gonna be successful. Duke's behind it, they've come out very strongly in support,
I should go for it.
which is helpful though when it's the commission. Yes, sir.
One last question, your business that's putting up the $225 million to expand these lines, are doing it with the intent that Duke is looking to generate the extra million watts of this power. And you need basically put things in place, so when you build these lines, if you need to develop to provide that fuel, you can have the capability of your company to do that.
Right, well, and I would say, I wouldn't say just my company, the industry, anybody can use it. I don't have any ownership of it, so it's still first come, first served. So there's a lot of other companies that already have projects planned throughout this region. But the problem is my project, which is the first in line, is the one that will be able to make those 63 miles of improvements the quickest, so that after 2020, end of 2023, when they're finished, other projects can be connected.
So, but we don't have to worry about your company glutting the market.
No, no, sir.
So you can come in there.
You
and
still have all the
nobody
same
else can
control.
do it.
That's
I'm
right.
just asking to make
Yeah, no,
sure.
that's a fair question.
Mr. Dallas
Yeah.
has a question.
Yes, sir.
When these solar farms go online, is Duke planning on phasing out the nuclear?
I have not heard much about nuclear at all. I think where the thing that they're in a hurry, and again, I'm not an expert on Duke, they probably should, but I think where they are really focused is the coal piece. It's declined a lot, right? But it's still, I think, 20% or 18% of the generation.
Well, when they phase these coal plants out, what's gonna keep power from doing that?
Well, I think the thing is that now solar is less costly than coal. The one thing you will see, because it's first come, first served, I'm building a project that was sort of designed back in 2016. So it's already 3 years old, more. What you're gonna start seeing now is when you start seeing new projects come back, so let's say we're successful now. Right now, there's nobody in line in Bladen County, everybody dropped out. The next wave of folks will probably have a request. We have some storage on this project. This is one of the few that have ever had storage, so it's new, but you're gonna start seeing storage as part of all big solar projects going forward. Batteries, so that it acts more like a traditional power plant. But we're still working a little bit behind because everything's been so slow moving along that we're working on stuff we designed in 2016.
We got a motion on the floor by Mr.
Second.
Peterson. We got a second by Mr. Trivett. Any further discussion?
One last question. Birdseye is located out of where?
Charlotte, North
Is our
Carolina.
shop.
Yes.
Something going?
On the transmission, it's only one transmission that affect Bladen County? And that's
No,
the
it's
one?
kind of, I would think of it as a west. So we're gonna be fixing, Duke basically says those lines that are highlighted there on that map are the next set of ones that are at capacity. So there are lines going all over that, they all kind of interact with one another, and those are the ones that will be upgraded, but it will benefit Bladen. Does that make sense?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much. I will let you know, I'll let everybody know how it goes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Matter of interest to commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I have one thing.
Yes, sir.
I've given some handout to the commissioners regarding the 2020 census. I'm a member of that complete count committee. And my reason for saying something tonight, I believe the commission needs to take a proactive approach to make sure we get all our citizens counted. The census day is April 1st. It is strongly suggested that our citizens reply online. We know a negative part here is that Bladen County doesn't have Wi-Fi in every area. Also, an individual with a P.O. box will not get an alert, the way I understand it now, and that they should go online and show their residential address. in order to be considered in the census. And what I would like to see us do as commissioners is to look at an investment in notifying the general public about the census, which means we might have to make some financial investment into this so that we can notify the public the importance of completing their census papers. And some of the complete count members are here tonight as well. And in our last meeting, we were told that each citizen will get, the county would get per citizen about $2,000 from federal funds and about $250 from state funds, which makes about $2,250 that each citizen will receive as a result of the census. And I did some figuring that I might be off a dollar or two here, but look like Bladen County for 10 years will get about $800 billion. That's my figuring on that. But it's very important that we get all our citizens counted. And I think we should take an investment into that because we need the funding. And the other document that I gave you all was that Bladen County is losing, it's predicted they're losing about 2,000 citizens, which means they're gonna put a drain on our income as well. But now there is a specialist, he came to our last meeting. He's a specialist with the Atlanta Regional Census Center. And maybe we can get him to come by and give some information to the commission. But we need to look at this pretty seriously and see can we get all our people counted so that we can get those federal and state funds. Thank you.
That's right. And I agree with that, Mr. Boyd. I thought that's a low number as far as the amount of money, Mr. Martin.
I've heard several different figures. I have heard a figure higher than that.
What have you heard?
Well, back early on at MCA
4,000.
meeting.
Yeah. And regardless what it is,
Per individual.
2, 4, whatever per individual.
Wow.
It is an important number.
I go with your
It's a
figure.
lot of- and you're correct, and I support we need to think about whatever means we can
To educate, yeah.
And there's a lot of people don't use the computer system.
And the big thing about it, we don't have Wi-Fi, abundantly in Bladen County, so. And I think Wi-Fi is the #1 way you should respond, is that right?
Mr. Brett, thanks, Mr. Barton, ain't Greg out his chair, is that good?
He is, and
Yeah.
I just spoke with him since that meeting, and a presentation is forthcoming to the board, so.
Is it the
I just
dog
made a
involved
note.
with it too?
Yes, Jan Hester.
Jan Hester.
But I was looking at Columbus County, just got a big broadband grant. Is Bladen County in the loop to get in that
Yes, sir.
broadband?
Star got a $23 million grant.
How
for
much is
Bladen
that gonna
County.
accomplish? Just gonna do the whole county?
It's gonna cover the Elizabeth Exchange and maybe,
Right, it doesn't include, mining,
yeah.
that's not included already.
But it's a significant,
The thing about it, when it comes through Star,
investment made.
when it comes through Star, I got Star and it cost me $90 a month. The hell? Wi-Fi. It cost me $90 a month.
Getting too much sorrow.
I don't know what it costs. I got to have a telephone line, I got to have.
You got the bundle rate, it is.
$9.
You got a bundle rate,
But thank you for bringing that to our attention.
the bundle rate.
I don't know what, like I got $90 for it. $90.
And to add to that, for the outlying, citizens, small towns, on the other side of College Creek, Kelly, and all those folks over there, who don't have Star, I was gonna reach them. We really need to do something.
That's what I'm saying. We need to look at everything possible.
Thank you for the time.
Yes, sir. Anybody else?
I just had one comment to say to everyone, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. That's the only thing I have to say.
Can I get a motion this time to consider entering the Bladen County Board of Directors?
Second.
We got a motion by Mr. Peterson, we got a second by Mr. Gooden. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like.
Thank you.
Water Board.
It's about time, guys. Just kidding, y'all.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners. Pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Logan Parsons with LKC Engineering. We're going to give you a brief presentation and update on the Phase 4 project that's been in the works for some time now. So we have a slideshow here to kind of run through it. We'll try to keep things good and just give you an update. So, next slide. There you go. So just some quick reminders, the project is about 27.5 miles of new water line in the Bladen County Water District. It also includes a new well to your system and a new SCADA system that actually touches all of your existing infrastructure. It's, we are going to replace the water meters, all existing water meters. That's part of the project. And you can see here, we have the construction contracts are the numbers beside it. So it's actually three separate construction contracts for the overall project. So 1, 2, and 3. And then it is a USDA project that consists of a long and grant, which has been approved moving forward with. A little more description on contract 1, 27.5 miles of water line. About 26 miles of that, just over, is 6-inch line. And then you have about a mile of 4-inch, a little bit of 2-inch also through there. Some quick notes is most of the project is located along DOT roads. Only about 3,500 feet are along private roads. The project will serve about 255 residents. Of those residents, about 113 are planning to connect to the system. It also provides several loop connections throughout your system that were identified, and a lot of the purpose of the project is to connect those loops. This is just a brief rundown of all the roads and the link pipe for all the water lines and the contract 2, we're calling contract 2 is the new well. It will benefit Bladen County Water District over the west side, and the site that has been secured is located off Guyton Road. What has been done on that site is we put a preliminary test well in. Lab results came back with sufficient quality and quantity to support a new test well for your system. Also, as part of contract 2, we'll put a new SCADA system. The project will put a new SCADA system on all your existing facilities. That includes 11 wells, which I think includes the new one, and 9 tanks, and then all of that will be controlled by a monitoring system which will be located at the main water district office. Contract 3 is the water meter replacement. We'll replace all the water meters through the district, which is a little over 6,000 meters. Most of those meters are fairly aged and have surpassed their useful life. The new meters will be an AMR or AMI style meter, which means they'll be read by radio instead of physically getting out and opening each box and reading each one, which will substantially save your staff's time and having to go out and touch every meter every month. The types of meter and the actual read system will be determined after the bid process. Because it's USDA, it is a competitive bid process for the new meters and infrastructure. So just kind of an overall update of where we're at right now with the Phase 4 project. All construction permits are in hand. Bid packages have been reviewed by USDA as well as your Bladen County, your water staff. And then also all private easements have been secured, and your local attorney has issued the certifications, and all that's been sent to USDA. This has got a rough timeline that shows our projections going forward. What we'd like to do is advertise for bids right away. Open construction bids in early February. Would be a tentative award in March, followed up by USDA. So the tentative award is dependent upon USDA and LGC approval based off the funds available. And then we would execute contracts in May and get started with construction right after that. The next steps from here would be included in your agenda tonight is the resolution of approval of final plans and specifications. This is required by the funding agency, but it does require board action to physically formally approve the final plans and specs so we can go out to bid.
What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
We got a motion by Mr. Gooden, a second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion?
I got one, when we designed this kind of thing, the young man sitting here, here. Like when we had these major storms to come in and we had washouts and the broke lines, are they designed this time where it's something, where they going up on the creek, that we have them deep enough where they won't break this time, or would they, like maybe say you had to dig them down so deep to get them below that level? Did we do that too, where they?
And the new line is constructed, I think they're proposing directional bores under all the creek crossings, which will take you down below creek bottom. Yes, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, so when everybody was out on that side of the county for such a long period of time.
Right.
Okay.
All in favor? Yeah, go ahead. You mentioned a SCADA system, what's that?
I mentioned the SCADA system, so this, okay, so what is a SCADA system? It is a remote monitoring and control facility, so it's a pressure sensor that looks at your tank levels, and you can automatically turn on your wells based off of what level the tanks are at.
Can I add just a little, Logan?
Yeah, please.
This is actually a computer system that will interconnect all of our wells on a computer that we can remotely monitor and watch the water system, as well as schedule, turn things on, turn things off. But it gives us control from the central location as opposed to having to go out to each well to do things. We can now monitor everything and watch our operations from the computer program.
Will that monitor chemical spills as well?
No, sir. No, sir. That still requires a daily visit to the well site, but it gives us the ability to run things remotely.
Okay, you mentioned a 2-inch line going to a home, is that?
Yes, sir.
That's very small, isn't it?
Well, it's on the end of the line. You have a larger line close by. You'll have a hydrant within 2,000 feet, so you'll get the benefit of having a hydrant close by. But the 4-inch and 2-inch lines are added for, because there's really not a need to put a bigger line out there, and it's intended to improve the water quality a little bit in those areas, so you don't have stagnant water sitting down there.
Suppose they, have buildings up there, buildings, homes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, we try to look at build out on the lines, and if we think if there's a lot of undeveloped acreage, or think there's a lot of growth, then most of the time we'll put a 6-inch line there. That's why there's not a lot of them.
One last question, Mr. McClary, this is directed to you. I know we're moving up in the fast age and the new technology world. Do our IT staff have the capability to monitor these wells and monitor this without having?
Our staff will be trained